Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Curvin.
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights. All right, episode 56, getting started here.
56, here we go.
It's Sunday, not Saturday, but it feels like kind of the same, but rather than having like another day, I don't have another day.
Another day for what?
For not
to rest after the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Because they wear me out. I just, I'm all laid out for like out now. Can you imagine if we did a podcast that like laid you out, like you were so emotionally and spiritually drained by the end of the podcast?
We go hard here at Show Me Your Deck.
That would be funny. I'm sure there are some people that really put their all into their art. I know, like when we do our artwork, like our writing and stuff, like when we're accomplished with the phase or like done with a part of the project, that can lay us out. Like I can definitely.
Absolutely. Whether it's choreography or writing or anything, performance art, even teaching, just putting together retreats or something, these big, huge, creative pools, you can fall in and drown if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is possible to get drawn up and lost in it. So, but let's get drawn up and lost in some cards instead.
Okay, so you want me to roll the tetrahedron of doom?
I do indeed.
Oh, okay. We have Sassy. Deck number 1, and we're going to be using card number 11.
Okay.
So that'll be in the orange cycle. Let's see. 10, 11. Here we go. This is metal and air, orange and aqua, where I feel intersects with I say. So the way in which your sensations, instincts, feelings, how they're impacted by the way you express yourself. Okay.
We actually had this exact intersection for the start of the episode 2 episodes ago.
Was it with this deck?
Yep. It was the Sassy deck number 11, episode 54.
Really?
Yeah.
So gush your brilliance?
Yes.
Well, here we are again, gushing. We're gushing and gushing. Gush your brilliance. Brag in your journal. Belly laugh every day. Express something positive. Gush your brilliance. Brag in your journal. Belly laugh every day. Express something positive.
All right. So I think the fact that this has come up again so quickly means that we have something else to learn from it. I think we were very gushy last time. What struck me kind of interesting this time was the journal. I like that idea, even though I'm horrible, bad, terrible at journaling. I do think like reflection is important. I call it when I'm writing, sort of. Is it writing if you're just thinking? Is that a thing? Because I call it like ruminating, but like ruminating can be like a bad thing. But like I ruminate on my ideas. Like I kind of
you can meditate on them. You can
let them. I kind of let them like they're
percolating,
marinating, like
marinating.
They're just kind of au jus, like, and that it's that reflection. I don't think you actually have to physically journal. Like, I don't think you have to physically pen and paper, although like that is helpful. People, we know that it is psychologically, physiologically helpful. It's been shown and proven that pen to paper does make a difference in the way that our brain interacts and reacts and those kind of things. So pen to paper is a good thing, right? It's not a bad thing. It can be very helpful. However, it doesn't have to be, I don't think. What do you think?
Well, writing pen to paper involves coordination and generation, whereas tapping keys, it's not that it isn't quote unquote as good. It's just different. When you have to form the letters and be present in what you're in what you're writing, and know that you can't just click to delete. You have to really be aware of what you're going to write before you write it. Almost. My grandmother, her advice was always to write your ideas out for example, for a writing project, put them out on index cards, and to do the first draft by hand before you type anything. I personally don't go that far, but I do write a lot of notes on index cards.
I mean,
it helps you know what you've done, because your brain, there's a connection now between your brain and your hand, and you have written something, and that pattern is now part of yourself. Whereas if you tap keys, it doesn't create that same connection.
The index cards, they use those in screenwriting for television shows quite often. It's the way they kind of break things down because it's small bits, and that actually comes from Zettelkasten, which is a note-taking system. Yeah. Which is very popular. It's too much for me. I can't. No, but it is very popular. So if you are looking for like an atomic notes kind of system and a way to organize your thoughts, and you do want to have something that's analog and not digital, the Zettelkasten system is very robust, better than bullet journaling for actually like retaining and indexing information
and creating webs of connection as well. I started my Zettelkasten and then got busy doing it. I started writing my novel, and I wasn't researching for the novel anymore. So I'm not in a phase right now where I'm taking lots of notes, and my Zettelkasten is, rather thin, but they have the potential to become huge. The man who invented them, he had something like 25,000 note cards or something. It was an entire labyrinth, but you get to create your own system of organization, and everything just branches off of what you want and how you want to create relationships. So it's not like the Dewey Decimal System where everything has to be a certain way. You decide where everything fits.
I think our, grounding for today comes from organized thinking, organized feeling, organized spirituality. I think the idea here is, you have this intersection of emotions, and emotions tend to be bubbly. They can overrun, they can feel out of control sometimes. And I think from lack of understanding, and then you've got expression. So really this is about how do you in an organized fashion, right? In a productive fashion, even maybe we can call it, how do you bubble your emotions up and express them in a positive, I don't want to say controlled way, because that emotions are coherent. Yeah. Controlled, productive, coherent, something in a way that is beneficial to you. Right. So when I say ruminating on my, books, this isn't that sort of depressive rumination where I'm just reliving bad things. It's no, I'm steeping myself in something because I'm letting it gestate, I'm letting it. So how do you express your emotions in a positive, productive way forward? I think that's kind of where we're at today.
Yep, that sounds good.
All right, let's get a card then. Let's get a card. Where are we going to go next?
Well, and also making sure that what you're expressing is accurate to what you're feeling.
Because there's an element of truth to the throat chakra. All right, we're going to go a little high. This is interesting. So this is number 13, transform. And then the major arcana, this would be the death card. Leave this behind so you can become something new. So number 13, transform. Leave this behind so you can become something new.
So within the context of expression and feeling, transformation happens a lot of times when you learn. And the best way to learn is to communicate, because then you're in dialogue with other ideas from other people. And if that can be done in a context of respect or at least willingness to listen, then I think you'll have a better time of it. And I don't want to say that you have to respect everybody and listen to everything people say, because a lot of times what people have to say should not necessarily be respected, but the person needs to feel respected enough to feel safe enough to have the dialogue. It doesn't mean that you have to, agree or allow them to be quote unquote right just because, you're trying to be polite or something. But in terms of transformation, you can't always do that by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And with the element of air here, with the throat chakra, that is about expression. So I'm thinking that, I guess it doesn't have to be a dialogue, but it helps when it is. You can, even if you don't learn what you want to do, you can learn what you don't want to do by looking at other people's examples.
Well, I think there's a core metaphor here that I really like. In some of the tarots, they have like the Death Moth as the symbol for this card, because it's not, although it has been the Grim Reaper in a lot of versions of it, it's not so much like a death. Like, in fact, like something like the Tower card is more indicative of like dramatic change, all a death. This one is more about letting things slip away and coming into newness. But I was reminded, because I came across something, I think on Instagram, about how like the caterpillar becomes just a moosh of proteins. Like it just becomes a moosh of proteins before it reorientates itself into a butterfly. And there really is like this complete transformation where it's not even just like it's going to go into the cocoon and the wings were kind of already there and they're just going to like unfurl a little bit and grow, and it gives no, like it literally deconstructs into goop, and then that goop reconstructs into a butterfly. Like that's
science fiction.
Yeah, no, I mean it is, and I think somehow it brings memories forward with it, or something like it's incredible. It's an amazing thing, and I think that's where this kind of card, that this energy comes from. The reason I named it Transform was because you are, undergoing this goop process and coming out of one thing and into another. And the goop is goopy, and I think that, like the expression, like we talked about emotions being kind of bubbly, like their emotions are goopy, right? Like you can, and expressing them does give them some sort of order. Actually, my dissertation that I think I'm going to work on has to do with the idea of expressing emotions and giving them context, or giving them embodiment, allows for positive things. Just that alone, like just giving word to what you're saying, what you're thinking, can cause positive things,
and allowing it to be goopy first. Like you're using goopy and mush. The first word of the card is gush. Gush, your brilliance. Maybe what that's saying is that your ideas don't necessarily have to be fully formed, because you don't have to be fully formed, and that you just enjoy the process of growing. I mean, look at the joy that comes out of that cocoon. So, I mean, maybe part of what we are talking about here is that you don't have to know in order to learn, and you don't have to know in order to enjoy.
The goop is great because, like I said, like we think that the caterpillar's memories and experiences are carried over to the butterfly, and the same kind of thing happens with us. Like sometimes we have to go through that goopy phase, and sometimes people really do come out a different person, right? Like if you really have a goopy transformation, like something really gets to your core and sort of deconstructs you and reconstructs you. Like there's this wonderful TikToker who grew up conservative, radically conservative Christian, just like, she went to Liberty University, believed in afterbirth abortion.
Is she the one with magic makeup and fingernails?
I believe so, with the nose ring.
She's very witchy and nose rings,
yes.
and like cusses like a sailor now.
Yes.
And like quotes all the scripture right back at them. I love her. I follow her.
Yes. Well, she she had a moment like that. Like she was talking about it. So she was being interviewed and wasn't making one of her videos. She was just being interviewed about her experience, and she shared her history. And she went through this kind of thing where she went from this very rigid structure of beliefs, and I relate to this because I had the same experience. This very rigid structure of beliefs, and all these conclusions that were drawn from it, and all of these truths that we knew and held firmly. And then it became goopy because facts became not true, and the connections were, string, they weren't stone, and everything kind of fell into this goopy mess. And then I was like, well, what now? She kind of had that same experience, like what, and then you start looking for new facts, new structures, new things, and that's kind of how you come through it. And I think, a lot of people, like, there's people like my dad that are very, very into the Bible and really do believe in it, and really do believe in like the Holy Spirit and things like that. And I don't want to discount that because I can't, because I don't have, revelation to share and be like, well, actually, I don't have that. And I think that our spirituality is an important part of what drives us. But for me, I relate to her experience because I had the same thing, which is it all kind of came down. And I was in my very first year of college, and I was taking an anthropology class, and like here it is. Here's the evidence of evolution in front of us. And I'm like, my brain couldn't handle it. Like I couldn't handle it. It was so what's the word? Disconjointed. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
disorienting.
Yeah. Like it did not line up at all. It was like standing in two different worlds. Yeah. Dissonance. Yeah. Thank you. It was so dissonant that like it literally like it hurt. It hurt my brain and my spirit, like it was tough. And then I went through 3.5 years of Christian university and studying, and I came through the other side very goopy because it didn't all make sense. And the more that I learned, the more that I understood like how the Bible was even written. Like they don't tell you that in church school. Like they don't tell you that the Bible was written over thousands of years by hundreds of authors. They're like, nope. Mark wrote the Gospel of Mark, and he wrote it right after Jesus died. It's like, no, it's actually multiple oral traditions wrapped into one book. And that's why they contradict. That's why the Gospels have contradictions between them.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it's any testament to your transformation, to your metamorphosis, I can't even imagine you being like that. The idea that you would not believe in evolution, I don't know what to do with an idea like that. That I can't imagine you as that person. So your goop is fully reformed into something utterly different.
It really has. And so, sometimes our goopiness does transform us. And I guess it's scary to be in the goop. That's what I remember. That's what I remember very clearly. It's very scary to be in the goop because goop
is gross.
Well, all the bones, all the structure, all the things that you thought you believed,
you're all dissolving.
Yeah, it's all come apart, and you don't have a sense of identity at that point because you're goop, right? I mean, you're
gross.
You could be anything. You're a primordial soup, and anything can grow from that, and that's a terribly existential place to be.
Actually, that's kind of an interesting variation on waking up and being a cockroach. You wake up and you're a little spoonful of goop. Instead of having all your little Kafka roach legs wiggling around, you're trying to figure out where you are. And you're like, oh, I'm everywhere. I'm everything. I'm nothing. I'm growing.
Actually, that would be a little bit even scarier metamorphosis. What is that called when you deconstruct? And then, I mean, I guess it is metamorphosis because you're literally going from one thing to another. But whatever that stage is called. Biologists who listen to this, let us know what that stage is called.
It's not decomposition. That's with dead tissue. So,
something.
Deactualization.
I mean, from a spiritual sense, you in order to actualize, you really do have to have a strong sense of maybe not identity. I think you need a base, right? You need somewhere to start from.
Well, maybe it's not that you know what you're supposed to be. in the future. It's just that you realize that you aren't what you're supposed to be now.
Mm-hmm.
And the goop is when you get to figure it out. And you don't necessarily know what it's going to end with.
Yeah. I mean, the caterpillar going into the chrysalis literally has no idea what's about to happen.
Mm-mm. And as terrifying as it is, maybe that's just part of the process, is embracing the not knowing and to just strive. Because if you think about, that liquid state and somehow it crystallizing itself and creating a lattice inside itself and then building off that and expanding and growing, it's like, that's complicated stuff. And I don't know that you need to know every single step.
I think it'd be scary.
Yeah.
It's like being born.
I don't know if I've ever had a complete transformation like the one you described. I can't remember a time when I was so utterly different from how I am now. I don't know if I'm jealous or not. It sounds terrifying, but I don't think I don't think people who knew me in high school wouldn't recognize me now. And the way I talk now, I don't think that I've changed that way. I've changed and grown as a person. I would definitely give myself credit for that, but I don't know that I've ever had a metamorphosis.
I mean, it's possible. It doesn't have to come in big waves. Like not everybody has the experience of growing up in a fundamentalist, almost cultish setting and then coming out of it, right? Like not everybody shares that. If you grow up Buddhist from the beginning and you have, pretty open philosophy, then it's, very unlikely that you're going to have this massive personality changing metamorphosis. But I think, everyone does kind of go in and come out. I feel like you've had some goop times. Like I think your self image has been affected by goop. I think some of your issues with mental health have been goopy at times.
It's goopy right now, but not to a degree where I didn't believe in evolution, and now I do. That's such a reinvention of worldview that I'm pretty sure I've never experienced that. I've certainly had growth pains. I've certainly had all sorts of other types of improvement across my life as an adult, I hope, but it would be interesting for me to sit down and try to think about which parts of myself are so utterly different now that they would constitute a transformation. Maybe I'm due for one. Maybe that's part of my problem.
Could be you need to get goopy.
Maybe I do.
I think, we could talk about it more in the members only segment, but I think there's probably areas where you're having challenges that could use a little goopiness to restructure and reform. I think you and I both still have self-identity things that we deal with that need a little goopiness. We've kind of worked through them together around our art and other things. But I know I've had some goopiness over like the identity of myself as like a creative person, and I think you've had some similar things as well.
I will say that the process of no longer being a dancer was pretty awful. They don't tell you how to prepare for that when you're going to approach the end of your dancing career. They don't tell you what that's like. I don't identify as a dancer anymore, and I'm okay with that. But it took me a very, very, very long time to be okay with not being a dancer.
So that's scoopy.
And to start transitioning towards other forms of creativity, whether it be group classes and writing and multimedia, stuff like that. But and now the idea of being a dancer is like, ooh, that's repulsive to me. I don't want to do that, because I look back now and looked at everything I had to do to be a dancer. It's like, I wouldn't do that again. There's absolutely no way I would do any of that again. Absolutely not. There was nowhere near enough reward to compensate for all the punishment. So I guess we should do a third card.
Yes, let's do a third card.
Okay. Oh, we're going to go to the most abstract, the intersections deck.
Is that number 4?
That's number 3. This is the deck that looks like bouquets of flowers. And we're going to use card number 14. Oh, 14. 14 is one of my favorites.
We just had 13 in my decks. Now we're at 14. We had 11, 13, 14. Those are some interesting numbers today.
I was just working with the number 14 last night, so it's fresh on my mind.
We had prime, 2 sevens.
And we're staying in metal, orange, but this time it's intersecting with red, earth. So the way I feel is impacted by I am. So how your sensations, your senses, your instinct, how all that's impacted by your sense of identity, safety, health, stability, all that kind of stuff. And it is a beautiful coppery orange over a very beautiful, lush, almost carmine kind of red. Mm-hmm. And if you come to the YouTube channel, you will get to see an image of how beautiful it is. It almost looks like two roses interconnecting with each other, with the orange and the red overlapping.
What does an orange rose mean?
I don't remember.
I'm actually looking it up because enthusiasm, desire, fascination, and energy.
Well, this card, this intersection in the other decks is extraordinarily sensual. It could be, it very well might be the most erogenous intersection in the entire deck. The haiku is about, snugly engulfed plugs and it's going on and about, experiencing pleasure without shame, and all the vowels in the haiku sound pornographic if you just read the vowels by themselves. And it's the sex card in the deck. So it is the sensuality card in the deck. It's the card about celebrating your actual physical self and enjoying your physical self without any shame, and to let the joy flow through that. We were already talking about gushing brilliance and transformation, and now we're coming over here to literal sexuality and the relationship you have with your own self, your physical self, not your internal self, your actual physical self.
Well, we went from goop to structure, so we are
depending on how you think about it, we're going from goop to goop, but it's whatever.
Well, we have the root chakra, so we're again grounded. We've got elements of, and I mean, honestly, you've got elements of earth and metal here, so that's very rigid things as far as the elementals go.
Well, but they don't have to be, though. Like, earth and metal both can warm to the point that they become magma or lava, and I think that actually might be the photograph in the background. I don't remember, but they don't have to be solid and they don't have to be rigid. I mean, their basic room temperature state is obviously rigid, but this is about learning to make them malleable.
So as we're coming out of the goop, we do need structure again, but we need malleable structure, right? Something that is open to us, inviting to us, able to capture the newness of what we're going through. But also, I think, the thing that I learned the most about my goopiness is to be malleable forever, right? To never be so crystallized again, where I was so sure I knew everything, because I know how much I don't know. And I was reading, somebody said it, I can't remember who said it, if you know the credit, but the idea that you are only certain about things that you don't know enough about, and that the things that you know a lot about, you are very doubtful. Like, you understand how little you know, so you're really only certain about things that you don't know.
Isn't that like the Kruger effect or something?
Something
like that. Like there's a graph where it actually shows experience versus confidence, and there's like this huge peak towards the left where there's almost no experience, but there's a lot of confidence, and then very rapidly it diminishes downward, and then it very gradually curves back up again to where it had been, but it's after much more experience.
Yeah.
I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, or maybe, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I know exactly the effect you mean.
So, like, that's one thing that kind of I took out of it is I'm always going to be willing and open to learn something new because I didn't know and I don't know, and I am capable of learning. So I think, we've got earth and metal. If we keep them in a malleable state, like, yes, we can construct things, but we are never so stuck as to not be able to adjust. And we're stronger because of that.
So here's a little story from when I was in elementary school in South Carolina, and it will sound unrelated at first, but hear me out. One of the reasons that the palmetto tree is the state tree for South Carolina is because at Fort Moultrie, the revolutionaries down there built the fort out of palmetto trees. And that was, dumb luck, but it just so happens that they're pliable, they're pliant. It's a kind of a spongy wood. And the British could not knock this fort down with their cannonballs because the cannonballs would literally bounce off the fort. And so while you're talking, it reminds me of that story that, there's a real tangible strength in malleability and flexibility. Just because something bends doesn't mean it necessarily breaks. And it's interesting because when people do have an open mind and they're learning and they have an open heart and they're connecting, it allows them to form themselves to whatever the situation needs to be without losing themselves. And so you have that strength of bending when you need to without breaking. And so if somebody does or says something that's completely antithetical to you, that's okay. Let the cannonball bounce right off.
I'm reminded of Legos. Loved Legos as a kid. Would build with them for just hours. And the basic set is basic, right? It has the basic shapes, the basic blocks, and your imagination can run wild, but it can't form some of the things that you might be thinking of. Right?
Rounded edges.
Yeah, rounded edges is a big one, right? Hinges, motors. Like there's a ton of things. There is a ton of additional block sets that you can get that add incredible things to the Lego system. Like Lego, they've constructed Lego machines that do, tasks. Like they have Lego robots. I mean, really incredible things. But the idea is that you have to keep adding to your sets, right? You have to keep adding to your collection. And one of the things that I sort of hate about where Lego's gone is how they have the sets now where you build one thing and all the blocks
are just a big puzzle then.
Yeah, all the blocks are made for one purpose only and to go in one shape in one place and only ever that. And that disappoints me because Legos are infinite possibilities. So it's like, yeah, the Lego Death Star is cool looking. The Lego Star Destroyer is cool. It's cool. It looks cool. Like that'd be a fun project. Like you said, a fun puzzle to put together. But like the joy of Legos for me was just the anything and the everything, and adapting and thinking, oh gosh, how can I change this? How can this be different? How can my spaceship that I'm making, how can I improve upon it or add to it or, make it different and better in some way?
Well, it also means that, when you have kits like that, they're really just very, very complicated art kits. Like the little ones people used to do in the 50s and the 60s and 70s or whatever. You'd like get those little miniature sports cars or whatever, and you could like assemble the car.
Model cars, yeah.
Yeah, model cars. So, that's really what Lego has done. They've just done it with 1,000 pieces instead of, 50 or 60 or whatever.
Yeah, I liked models too. I liked model building, and that was fun. But there was just something different about Legos. There was something different about that kind of malleable structure. But then, yeah, to the point, like, you know, you can introduce new blocks, and it introduces new creativity and new things, and you're able to shape stuff in different ways than you were before. And I think that's really important for this step. I'm kind of stuck on the sensuality part. Like, I've been very asexual lately, so I think I'm having some issues going out of that. It's just, you know, it comes in waves for me. So, you know, like, you know, there's not a lot of that sort of sensuality in my being at the moment, but there is something about being, like, when you get in bed and you pull the covers up and you just have that total body joy, right? Of just, you know, and that little shiver, and, you know, your soft blanket. If you have a soft blanket, I have a soft blanket. But that total sort of just wonderful immersion in being, right? In feeling and processing bodily skin, you know, touch, you know, like that. I guess that's kind of sensuality, but it doesn't have to be sexual, right? It's just very, you know, you have that root core connection sensation where the whole body is one thing for that one moment.
The profession isn't limited to sexuality. The literal profession is, I profess that I feel pleasure without shame. So what you just described is connecting to number 14. It's just the haiku that goes with it is, you know, very sensual. Not just sensuous, but sensual. And the challenge is making sure that you don't float away into the purple crown. You have a physical body, and it has needs as well. And some of those needs get shamed. Some of them, okay, some people's desires need to be kept away. But generally speaking, what I'm talking about is just, you know, a healthy connection to what your body can experience and the type of information it brings into you, and not being afraid of that.
Well, there's a connection. Obviously, this is root and second chakra emotions. There is sort of a, you feel things in your body. Like, your body is going to tell you quite a lot about what is happening to you, and where it's happening can tell you often what the emotion is. So, like, we feel stress in our shoulders, in our neck. We feel loss in our chest. You know, we feel guilt in our stomach. You know, there's places where the body is giving us great information and being able to listen to it, and we're often shamed and excluded from listening to our bodies because we are supposed to be intellectual, rational creatures, right? We're not supposed to be emotional. Emotions for women, emotions bad.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I mean, what you just said is misogynist. Not on your part, of course, but the idea that we're supposed to be logical and in control all the time, that is a misogynist, you know, treatment of the way we experience our bodies. And the gut is the second brain. I think they pretty much just know that now. They're just going to go ahead and say that at this point, that the gut is like a second brain. And it has its own intelligence. It's not the type of perception that forms words and images and literal words, but what it does produce is, I guess, what we would call instinct, and that has its own intelligence.
I mean, animals just get danger, right? Like,
you just get it.
My cats, something will perk them up. I don't know what it was. I didn't hear it, but they're like, "Oop, pattern recognition. Something's up. Something is up. Something's in." And this is, you know, your body is going to tell you danger signal. Now, sometimes those are ingrained things that we have to work out, but a lot of times that's like, "Oop, something's up."
Well, you know, pets can be a great barometer for the state of your home. you when I feel turmoil, I look over at Kitty. Is Kitty in turmoil? Okay, so then it's probably just me, because Kitty is going to notice something before I am. And if Kitty's upset, then it's not just me being upset. There's actually something wrong. Because his instinct is going to force him to respond in a way that will protect him. So even though we've been trained on some levels to ignore our instincts and our emotions, we really can't. That takes out half of the way we'd experience life.
Yeah, there's truth within our experience, and connecting to that can be important. So I think, we had the gushing, we had the reflection, speaking our emotions, we had our goop, right? Reconstruction, rethinking. Now we're crystallizing in a malleable fashion, and we're bringing forth that idea of bodily autonomy, bodily awareness,
joy
and embodying, right? Being in your body, really connecting with that, and allowing that sensuousness to exist.
Yeah, like really enjoying your body. It tastes the food you like. It hears the music that you like. It tells you how pleasant the warm water is in your bath. Luxuriate in your flesh.
I love a warm shower. I want to make just enough money to support my family, obviously, but I just want a little bit left over to have a hot tub bathroom, like a little hot tub in the bathroom, because that's how I would wake up every morning. Is just go.
Well, it reduces your perception of gravity, so it can help with joint and muscle pain. There's so much that's therapeutic about allowing pleasure into your body. It lets you relax. It helps you breathe better. It improves, the mix of hormones running around, telling your body to do different functions. I mean, pleasure is good at base level. Can it go awry? Sure. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coming out of the goop as a human person who appreciates and loves their flesh.
I like it. Let's find out where we go next. We've had quite an interesting journey so far. Oh, okay. So we're going to go to the heart chakra. And we have got Sentinel of Storms. So this is the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords. Ride the wind for the joy of the journey.
Okay, so here we are. When you come out of this goop and you've composed yourself and you're ready to start living again and connecting out in the world, you do it from this place where your perspective's already primed for joy. Now go out there and live it and share it. Ride the air. Is that what you said? Ride the wave, ride the air?
Ride the wind for the joy of the journey.
Yeah. You just went through a metamorphosis. Celebrate that.
Well, it's the swords are interesting. I call them storms because I like the dichotomy that the swords kind of point out. But what I wrote about this card, everything must change if it is to survive. You can't live without becoming. If you do not change willingly, then life will conspire to change you by force. But you have already learned that as the seeker. So now as Sentinel, you see how the wind works. You know how to journey along the winds that you cannot control. And you understand how you can change yourself to take advantage of what the storm brings you. Some of these changes are sudden, perhaps unexpected, but you are adept at weathering them. You may return to your nest, your home, having ranged far and found what you needed. But sometimes the storm takes even that security from you, and still you are able to follow those winds, ride that storm, and continue the journey that is living. The only thing that will stop you is the attachment to what was and what is, or what you think should be.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like wisdom to me.
So the idea of malleability is important here, right? Storms, it's not the Three Little Pigs, right?
No, that's not a house of bricks.
Yeah. Like the storm will come take away the bricks too. Like trust it can do it. So you're not
So are we saying people should like build a bunker underground and like collect hundreds of cans of beans?
Well, no, sometimes you need to go. Like that's what a storm tells you. Sometimes you need to go. Like those people that try to defend their house against the flood waters. Sometimes you need to go
in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you need to build somewhere else. Sometimes you need to pick up. But this card's not necessarily always about that. It's there's an action to it. So we've kind of had goopiness, we've had embodiment, right? We've had a sort of embodiment and an actualization of embodiment. And now this is saying, bring us some action. Like get out there. It's stormy. It's weird. There's lots of stuff happening.
I mean, what's the point of gushing to whom? And the transformation is for yourself, of course, but others can benefit from it as well. But the whole point of this journey is to go out and live life. I mean, you've rebuilt yourself out of the goo. To what? Mm-hmm. Sit there and watch Netflix? I mean, I guess if that's your joy, but I mean, there's probably something else. You have to go out and take a chance on getting hurt again.
And I mean, that's the storms, the sword suit kind of points that out. And the reason I like that it aligns with the heart chakra is that part of loving is losing, part of joy is grief, part of peace is allowing things to pass on, to pass away, to move on. It's letting things go as much as it's holding on to the things that are good.
Yeah. Grief is the price you pay for love.
Yeah.
Because if you lose something and don't grieve it, then maybe it wasn't actually as dear to you as you thought. If you actually feel the loss, then that actually is the proof that what you had was real. Mm-hmm. And it's terrible, but it's balance.
Well, and balance is hard because it is about losing as much as gaining, right? It's sort of like the energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred and changed. Yeah. So you can't obtain without losing. You can't lose without obtaining, right? Everything comes in equal parts, and that's just the way it works.
I want to make sure that we don't leave that sounding like a zero sum. Because you have gained something doesn't mean somebody you know personally has necessarily lost something, or vice versa. What we're talking about here is the energetic play in the universe of how experience forms our lives. So I don't want that to be taken as I have gotten this good thing and you have lost it, because then you start getting into these situations where people like build these boundaries and start feeling threatened, oftentimes for no reason. But sometimes, I mean, 100,000 years ago, this was my blueberry bog. Get out. But now we can let go of some of that.
No, what I mean is like if you obtain a wonderful evening, you've given time up for that. You've not done something else.
So it's just a way of the way you're managing your own time resources, not the way it's interacting with anybody else's.
No, it's how your own energy flows. So I'm doing this with you right now, so I am not doing writing tasks, right? If I'm spending creative time, but I'm spending creative time with you doing this podcast, so I'm releasing other possibilities at the same time. And this is important because there are possibilities. There's so many possibilities. And the piece I hope that people find is the ability to pursue a possibility and release the others, and not feel like you should have done something different, or you made the wrong choice. Like, no, you just followed one of the possibilities, and you learn from it, and maybe next time you won't. Maybe next time you'll follow the other one instead.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what forms your life experience, is just the series of choices that you make.
Mm-hmm. But there's not this choosing is the choice. Like, choosing is the choice. You have to. You can't ruminate. You can't just live wondering what if. It is living is making the choice. Living is following the possibility and giving up on the others and spending your energy. But when you do it decisively and emphatically and in a meaningful manner, that's what living is about.
Yeah, I agree.
Shall we get our last card?
Sure. Deck number 2, the projections deck. Excuse me. The professions deck. Did I say that?
You said projection, so profession.
Okay, no, professions. This is
Profession.
the professions.
Okay.
Projections is number 1. All right. So what card? The line goes up or down?
Down.
Okay, so then this is 6. So we're going to be, I know exactly what that is. We're going to be going right to the third eye. This is the first cycle. So red, earth, I am, how it intersects. Third eye, blue, water, I see. I profess that I am vision's fertile garden. I profess that I am vision's fertile garden. Vision, as if vision was a person.
That's how I have the archetypes in the first series of the major arcana. The first 7 I call the archetypes, and they are embodiments of things. I like that. That's a nice little crossover. I didn't realize that profession kind of fit in this. So this is root interacting with
third eye. Red and blue.
Okay.
So we have system, earth and water.
We have our almost spiritual sense here. I consider the third eye spiritual because I think connecting with each other is the very definition of what spirituality is. Like, I think as much as we want to connect with the greater, the other, the ocean, God, our higher self, whatever it is, as much as we want to kind of reach beyond ourselves, we're kind of forever trapped in the body. We can only get so far. Our understanding can only go so far, right? I mean, even if we did open our eyes and see eternity, how could we possibly put those to words, right? That's just, so I think for me, the real spirituality is how we can interact and connect with each other. I think that's the goodness of it. If you want to have a spirituality, I think it should tell you how to be with other people. I think that's the important part that it can show you and guide you in, is that interconnection. So I like that we're there. I like that it's keeping with the root, right? So we've gone through the goop and now we have solid ground, right? We have something solid. We did activate the heart. So, we have emotions and peace and grief and joy and all these things swirling around. And here it is saying, okay, stand firm, right? Stand on earth, but then see with your, with your spirit, with your connection, see with that eye, right? With that vision, others around you whom maybe you've been goopy too. Maybe this is the goopy community that you're going to connect with now.
Yeah, so the card looks at the way your experience of identity, stability, health, wellness, how all that's impacted by the way you understand information, the world, other people, how you see, concepts. You've come through all these other cards and all this transformation. So hopefully you have come out of it wiser, because the third eye is about learning and understanding and seeing and comprehending. So now that you're back on solid ground, you've rebuilt yourself, you've had your adventures, here you are, you've experienced this new self. In what ways are you wiser? How can you look around and understand how what you understand is different? And allowing other people the same grace to make their changes as well.
So you have a lot of understanding with the third eye. I think I have, like I said, I have a lot of connection, but I think that the two go together.
Yeah.
I think we have this drive to know, to uncover, to explain, because we like things to make sense. If there's a
less
rule,
scary.
Yeah, if there's a rule, we want to know why. Why does this happen? Why does the sun come up every day? And we used to make religious understandings of that, right? We used to create stories about icons and gods and powers that would cause the sun to rise in the morning and set in the evening. And then, we became scientific, which has its own drawbacks. I think sometimes you lose a little bit of the magic of the story and a little bit of the awe. There's a sort of there was a switch. I think it was the clockmaker switch, where God stopped being God and started being a clockmaker, who just sort of made a really interesting device that ticks and turns, but that's all it is ticks and turns. And that kind of view of science is sort of, it's just, it's all a machine, it's all this. And then there's still wonderment, like of particle physics and quantum mechanics are just crazy. Like they just did another double slit experiment. They call it the most pure one ever. So they were able to ensure that there wasn't any interaction possible. They were, releasing one photon, one electron at a time, like just, absolute perfect control. And of course, there it is, the diffraction pattern that shouldn't exist. And even more than that, they were able to clearly show the observation effect, which again, it should, right? It shouldn't exist. How does that even work? How does looking at something change it? Like, that's insane. That's mystical. Like that really is something beyond the clockmaker, right? That's not a gear turning. That's energy interacting at spooky distances. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And that's, I think that's okay to still have in there. It's okay to still have a little bit of mysticism in there. Like, we know that, Apollo and his chariot doesn't go across the sky every day, but the beauty and magnificence of the sun is still wonderful. It doesn't have to be a personified god in order to have stories about it. It's incredible by itself.
Yeah, you can look at it and see and understand why stories would exist about it. But even what I just said in that moment, you can see, you can understand. In all the languages I've studied, see and understand are effectively synonymous. And when you're talking about the third eye, I'm talking about, religion or mythology and science, what you're talking about is the distance of perspective. Because when you're looking out at the world and you can only see it through your own human eyes, you have to describe things from that specific perspective. When you suddenly have a telescope or a microscope, you don't have to be standing in one place. You can be standing light years away and look back and understand more. So there's still an interesting way of how we understand based on where we're even at. so where we're standing right now, we have the perspective of, looking out at these vast distances, whether they be teeny tiny or super, super huge, but that's still within this physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
What will reality look like when we're not stuck here? I don't know if I'll be alive to see the day when that happens, but I think it will.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got a deadline with the sun. Speaking of physics, we've got a deadline, and we'll just see if physics allows us to do the things that we want to do before that deadline comes up.
No, we'll probably go some of their solar system by then. Was that 4 billion years?
Yeah.
I mean, look, what is it? Technology gets doubles and whatever it is every year or something.
I think we're going to see the edge of that curve come back, because like there are things, but like that's just like the speed of the microprocessors. Like there's a kind of a question of, is there really a point after it gets so fast, it's still doing the same thing, and AI is going to start trading on itself. Like it's going to start eating itself because there's just not enough human creation left to train it on. I don't know. I think we might see the flip side of that curve finally. Moore's law. You can pack them tighter and tighter, but we're not changing the basics. So it's going to get marginally faster, but the difference is magic now. Like we're at the Asimov stage, where advanced technology and magic are indistinguishable. I mean, there's so many people that just use their devices, and no, we don't call it magic, but it's magic. They don't know how it works.
Yeah. I wouldn't know the first thing.
AI is a good example. Most people don't know how AI works, and it is becoming indistinguishable. We have a members only version of the podcast. It's patreon.com/DeanSageMedia, where you can get extended episodes and hear how the reading influenced us personally and what our kind of personal take is on the things. So if you like a longer episode, you like to hear more about how the reading influenced us, you can go to patreon.com/DeanSageMedia and subscribe there. We have a YouTube. It's Show Your Deck on YouTube. Our books and our decks are available at showyourdeck.com. Jack's book is available through Jack. My book is available through Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, and our decks are available through a third-party distributor. Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku. That's the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU. On the interwebs, that's 49haiku.com, and on Instagram it is at 49haiku.
I am Dean Sage Media. Find me if you dare. We do have an Instagram for the show. It's at Your Deck, and we will say goodbye.